Hi class, Dr. Jason Huff here, and this particular presentation focuses on the part of the affirmative brief known as the constructive, which is the very first speech of the debate round. So we'll go ahead and get started here. As a reminder, the order of the debate begins with the affirmative constructive speech for 2.5 minutes, and then there is a cross-examination by the negative for a minute. Then the negative gives their constructive speech for 3 minutes, with cross-examination by the affirmative for 1 minute. Then there's the affirmative rebuttal for 1.5 minutes, the negative rebuttal summary for 2 minutes, and the affirmative summary for 1 minute. And as of right now, you have not gotten all of the pieces of the debate puzzle yet. You will, and all of this will make sense once we get a little bit further along in the course. But right now, we're going to take this piece by piece, beginning with the affirmative constructive speech. So the affirmative constructive speech consists of the following components. It begins with an opening statement or quotation, followed by the statement of the resolution, then definitions, the presentation of a value, the presentation of a criterion, and the presentation of contentions. So we'll look at each of these different parts here now. And the sample affirmative resolution that we're going to be looking at for this exercise is that Congress should refuse to build a border wall. Congress should refuse to build a border wall. So the affirmative constructive begins with an opening statement or quotation. The purpose is to get the audience's attention. Using an original statement by you or a quotation you have found in research, you emphasize why your side of the debate is important. It should be engaging, promote an emotional response, and set the stage for your side of the debate. Here is an example. The border wall has never been a solution, nor will it ever be. The idea of the wall is to instill fear and to deter immigrants, legal or illegal. This idea was born and bloomed from the premise that every person south of the border is a criminal or a bad person as well as their offspring. The border wall is viewed as a symbol of patriotism and necessary for the security of this nation. But this country is a melting pot of cultures, and is what this country was built on and will continue to draw its strength from. The border wall will not provide relief in any aspect. Agreeing with this, the affirmative stands. So you'll see that we have this quotation here, that it has a lot of passion to it. It states something very specifically about what your side of the debate is going to be arguing. And you'll note that right after the quotation, it says, agreeing with this, the affirmative stands. This is just simply a transition to where you are now going to state the resolution. Resolved, Congress should refuse to fund a border wall. And the statement of the resolution is short, sweet, and simple, and is just that, a clear statement of the resolution for the round. So we've started with the opening quotation, we've now stated the resolution, and now it is time for definitions. So as a debater, you provide some basic definitions for your audience. You are going to select the keywords from the resolution and define them accordingly. You can define using your own words as long as your definition would match a dictionary definition of the word or words. And for purposes of the affirmative constructive, your definitions are labeled as observation 1. And all an observation is, it simply means it's something you are observing and presenting as a basic fact to the audience. So it's just a formalized heading, and you'll see how this works when you look at the written brief in a little bit. But let's present our definitions now. Observation 1, definitions. Congress, a national legislative body. U.S. Congress was established in 1787 and is made up of Senate and House of Representatives. Refuse, to show that one will not do something. Fund, provide with money for a particular purpose. And border wall, proposed separation barrier that runs along the U.S. border with Mexico. So once you present your definitions, you are then going to present for the audience and for your opposition what is known as a value. And a value is what you want to uphold in the debate as an ideal. It gives the audience a standard for what you believe to be important, worthy, or useful in defending the resolution. And a value should be followed by a research quotation demonstrating the value. So some sample values that I have listed here, and there's a much more detailed list that you can look at later on in the module, are democracy. Maybe you want to talk about health, uphold justice, life, or liberty. And as I stated, there is a myriad of other possibilities that you will be able to select from. And the criterion is what is known as the weighing mechanism of the round. And it gives your audience a way to measure if your side of the debate is more persuasive and achieves the value that you stated. For purposes of this class, we're only going to use two criterion. The first one is known as comparative advantage, and that simply means that whichever side of the debate provides the most advantages in achieving the value wins. The second criterion that you can use is utilitarianism. Whichever side of the debate provides the greatest good for the greatest number of people in achieving the value would win the round. So let's look at these together because they're presented together. So in the actual affirmative constructive, the value and criterion are presented in what is known as a block or as a complete unit. And this is presented together as observation 2. And it would read as follows. Observation 2, value and criterion. The supreme value for this debate is that of quality of life. According to the Department of Homeland Security homepage, accessed July 19, 2019, border apprehensions are at a 46-year low, but family apprehensions are 50% higher than they were last year. This has caused a homelessness boom along the border consisting of mostly families. Because every human has a right to a good quality of life regardless of ethnicity or nation of origin, this is an ideal value for this round. The criterion for measuring this value should be utilitarianism. Whichever side of this debate provides the greatest quality of life for the greatest number of people should take today's round. Once you've presented the value and criterion, you will then transition to your arguments by stating, I shall further uphold this value and criterion throughout my contentions. So what are contentions? Contention is just a fancy word for argument. As the affirmative, you will present two contentions or arguments for your audience. And these contentions should be researched with source citation to include the author or authors if applicable, the source or publication where you got the information, and the date of publication or access to that source. So let's look at contention 1. Visa overstays make up roughly half of the undocumented population. According to Dan Cruz of the Pew Research Center, May 15, 2019, about 42% of the undocumented population, or about 4.5 million people, are the result of overstaying their visa. These visas can last anywhere from weeks to years. Most of these people entered through airports or ports of entry via boat. Overstays accounted for 2/3 of the population that became unauthorized immigrants in 2016. Contention 2. U.S.-Mexico border arrests are declining and continue to decline. According to NPR in a report from 2018, border arrests were at a 46-year low, also a 25% decrease from the year before. A border wall will be ineffective and rendered rather useless if less and less people are either coming into this country or find other means to get in. The border wall can affect the quality of life of citizens and non-citizens. The citizens with higher cost of living and taxes will ultimately pay a greater share of funding the wall. Meanwhile, for the non-citizen, we are suppressing opportunities and a better quality of life with this wall, while at the same time our government plays a hand in destabilizing their home country, contributing to mass immigration. So once you have finished your contentions, to end your constructive, you want to let the audience and opponent know you are finished and that it is time for cross-examination. You will simply state, I am now open for cross-examination. So to review the different parts of the affirmative constructive, we begin with an opening statement quotation. We then provided the resolution. We gave definitions. We provided the value, the criterion, and then the contentions or our arguments. So what I want you to do is I want you to review the sample affirmative constructive brief that is provided in the module. You are also going to have the opportunity to watch me present the actual affirmative, that part of the affirmative brief, the affirmative constructive, in a sample demonstration. And you'll be able to go back through this video and the PowerPoint, which I've included separately, to see how all of these pieces fit together to provide the very first speech of the debate round, which is the affirmative constructive speech. Thanks so much.